After all I've done for you. If that doesn't stir up some feelings, probably a trigger or two, whether it's somebody who has said that to you, maybe it was a parent or a boss or an ex or anyone you loved. Hearing those words, after all I've done for you. Maybe you've even said it to somebody else, but chances are, if you've had it said to you before, you probably did not say that to anyone else. But maybe you've said it in different ways. Maybe that energy came out in different words. But how about this? Is there a pressure you put on you? Is there a voice you're saying within you where you are the one saying it to you that, oh, maybe you shouldn't do this because that person was there for you or did something for you in a time, so now you owe them forever debt? Listen, we're going to get into it today, let me tell you. And but here's what I need from you. I need you to have your gossip brain on. When I say gossip, I just mean, like, you know how you're like, okay, I gotta follow all of this. It's gonna be about my neighbors, sisters, brothers, cousin-in-law, blah, blah, blah. So I need that brain with you right now. So if you need to press pause, get yourself situated, I need you in on this because I'm gonna take you down a road and I need you with me because this one is going to be rooted, and I'm going to guarantee you are not going to think the same on the other side of this as you are right now. So to begin, let me just take you a little off course by talking about the golden rule. Because the golden rule, let me tell you, has messed with me. Not because the golden rule is bad, but being raised on the golden rule in an underdeveloped brain, in a child brain, that did some stuff to me that now as an adult, I'm trying to kind of unfuck myself, right? The golden rule, it's treat others the way you want to be treated. That's beautiful, right? I was raised on that principle. That is universal. It's simple. Actually, I'd even call it sacred. That is sacred. Treat others the way you want to be treated. But here's where it went sideways. In my child brain, I understood that as like the way you want to be treated meant treat people this way and they'll treat you this way too. Like it was like so that they treat you that way in return. Ouch! So naturally, I liked people the way I wanted to be liked. I loved the way that I wanted to be loved. I stayed loyal the way that I wanted loyalty. Are you feeling me here? I showed up the way I wanted someone to show up for me. I helped the way that I wish someone would help me. And when it didn't come back, it didn't just hurt. It was confusing. It was disappointment. I thought I was following the rules. I thought I was doing it right. Thought I was doing life right. Like, I did it right. I showed you the way. Why didn't you know what to do with that? And I think this is where the whisper begins. That whisper, that wound that eventually turns into the dagger. That after all I've done for you, there it is. Just hearing that, I'm like, that lands in my chest before I even have time to like defend myself. Has somebody ever said those exact words to you? Or like I said earlier, maybe they didn't say the exact words out loud, but you definitely felt that energy. That energy of like, after all I've sacrificed, after all I gave, after all I taught you, after all I've forgiven of you, after all the times I showed up for you, after all I've done for you, this is what I get. Feels like debt, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like gratitude. It feels like debt. Love starts feeling like leverage. I'm literally feeling nauseated in my stomach right now in this energy. Help, like receiving help. Maybe this is why it's hard to receive help, because it starts feeling like a contract that you didn't necessarily sign. Actually, yeah, let's lean into this, because I want to be clear, because this is what matters. I'm not talking about becoming less grateful. That's not what this conversation is about. I believe, I stand on, I am made of gratitude. So I just want to make sure that's not getting twisted here. That's deeply in me. I believe in honoring people who showed up when life was heavy. The people who taught us along the way or helped us, who sat with us in grief and loss. People who were there at the right times, maybe, that opened the doors for us. Maybe sent that message at perfect timing. Walked beside us when we needed someone to be there. I am forever grateful for a person, a season, a chapter, a moment. But in my humanness, I have to say that I still struggle with the part of feeling like there's a debt, or that I owe them permanent access forever, like a lifelong agreement. Or that maybe there's that fine print I never agreed to. I'm not saying that every situation has that, but when you have that person that's putting in that energy of everything I've done for you, it can feel like there's a fine print that you didn't agree to. But in just thinking about that sacredness, I feel like gratitude can remain sacred in that. But it doesn't have to be that it comes with ownership. I don't want to feel like I'm being owned, but I can be fully embodied of gratitude, a sacred gratitude. I'm allowed to disagree with you on a topic, right? And still be a grateful person for who you are in my life and the times you've been in my life. A boundary doesn't erase what someone has done for you. And if I grow on, move on, that doesn't mean I was never thankful, but I also shouldn't feel trapped. Now follow me. I asked you to bring your gossip brain, okay? Follow me on this. That's the thread I want to follow today. This is not about gratitude. It's the debt we sometimes confuse with gratitude. Oof. I want you to feel that separation. I want you to feel that split happening in your veins. Because check this out. Years ago, I saw a post from Nidra. I don't know how to say her last name. She's a therapist. She said, her post said, stop making people be thankful for something they didn't ask for. Ooh. And I felt that resistance immediately. Not in like full disagreement, but like resistance, like, I don't think she's talking to me in this situation, because this isn't about the helpers out there, right? She doesn't mean the people who are genuinely trying to like spare someone some pain. She doesn't mean the people who see someone struggling and just want to make it easier. She doesn't mean somebody like me, someone who's just trying to help. But in that same split second that all of those thoughts came out, before I could even have a complete thought in my mind, something in me knew. I was like, no, I'm exactly who she's talking to. She means me too. And this is where I got real uncomfortable, because it's one thing to know the pain of being made to feel like you're indebted to someone in this, but it's another thing to realize we have made someone else feel that way. And maybe not in those exact words, because like I said earlier, if you've had that wound because of someone saying that to you or implying that to you or bringing that energy to you, that debt to you, then certainly we wouldn't be putting that right back out there, because we know how it feels, right? Golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. So we wouldn't use those exact words, and not dramatically either. Maybe not even consciously, but energetically, with disappointment, with withdrawal, with resentment, with that quiet feeling of, I was only trying to help. Or, why won't you just let me help? Why are you making this harder than it has to be? Why don't you appreciate that I'm even here? And that's the underbelly. That's that same whisper. That same whisper of all I'm trying to do for you. It's just different words, but it's that same dagger. That's the part that humbles me right now. Because maybe some of us learned to give as a language before we learned how to ask. I want to say that again, actually. Wait, how did I say that? Maybe some of us learned to give as a language. Like, I'm feeling that as like a love language before we learned how to ask. Again, think about that golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. We gave the care we wanted, right? The loyalty we wanted, the attention we wanted, the grace we wanted. Oh man, this is just rippling. The help we wanted, the giving was real. The love was real. The care, that was real. But underneath it, there may have been a quiet help that somebody would notice or understand. Or maybe that somebody would finally say, oh, this is how you want to be loved too. But we never said that part out loud, did we? We weren't taught to do it like that. We were taught, treat them this way, and that's how you'll be treated in return. Or that's how a child would perceive it anyway. We were taught that as children, right? Gosh, just think about how many times you've been disappointed at how you treated someone, a partner, an ex, a friend, a coworker, a boss, and you didn't get that in return. Look at all the disappointments we went through. Does it make sense now that golden rule? Just because we thought that's the way life works. We thought that's the way people work. Treat others the way you want to be treated. We didn't know that it was a one-way street. We thought it was a two-way street. We thought the rule was two ways. We didn't know it was a one-way rule. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. We thought it was two parts, two ways. Treat people, and then the other way, the way you want to be treated in return. Like there was an expectation. You get that? We're putting an expectation of the exchange we'll get in return. It's like putting out a karma on purpose. So we weren't taught to just ask for what it was that we needed. We didn't say that part out loud. But we also didn't understand that we were putting a request. We were putting an expectation inside of what we were giving. Gosh, this just makes so much sense. I never meant to do that. They didn't know that there was a hidden expectation in between. We didn't even know. And now we're the ones that are hurt by a contract they never agreed to. So going back on that post that Nidra said, stop making people be thankful for something they didn't ask for. That's tender shit right there. But it's also human. It's not making any of us being like, we're not vindictive. We didn't go into it with the thought that we were giving them debt or making them sign a contract, or that we even had a request, an expectation behind it. It's just, no, that's just the human rule, right? Maybe that quote, after all I've done for you, is sometimes just grief. Grief from the part of us that thought our giving was a language someone else would eventually learn to speak back. Oof. Yeah, I'm actually feeling a little emotional on that. And I think this is how it shows up in small, modern ways these days. I mean, look at social media. Have you ever gone to remove someone from your social media page and immediately felt that whisper of like, but they were kind to me once. Or they sent me a beautiful message when I was grieving. Or they loved someone I love. They knew me in a chapter that mattered. So here's where that self chatter happens, where we start putting that pressure on us, putting that debt on ourselves, and suddenly removing them feels less like tending to your own space and more like betraying that debt. And maybe they did nothing wrong. Maybe they were beautiful in that season. Maybe your gratitude is real, but does one loving message mean someone gets a front row seat and direct access to you forever? Do we owe that forever? Social media is a funny thing, right? Because it's, in one essence, it's just an online game. We don't have to play a game with everyone. We can still be grateful for having them in our lives, in our real life, and not be playing a game with them called social media. And just because they love someone that we love, or loved someone that we lost, doesn't mean that we owe every future version of our life to them, right? I don't think that question is cold. I think it's honest. Sometimes we confuse honoring a chapter with keeping the current chapter open. But let's flip that for a moment, because I think it's important to try this on from the other side of it. Have you ever realized when someone has removed you on social media, or unfollowed you, or maybe even just stopped inviting you, stopped giving you that access to who they're becoming? Gosh, how did that feel? Maybe before we could even understand it, we felt the whisper in us, after all I've done for you. Or something like that, right? There it is again. The belief that because we mattered once, we're owed maybe continued access, lifelong loyalty. Because we were there once, we were owed a permanent seat. I mean, because if we're going to believe in this one way, we're going to have to believe it in the opposite way as well, right? Which doesn't always feel good. It kind of hurts. It hurts to be released by someone. It hurts to realize that we were meaningful in one season and maybe we're not invited to the next one, right? But I don't think we have to interpret that pain as betrayal. Sometimes their chapter has changed. They're just in a different season of life. Sometimes the relationship has just moved. And maybe it's just for a season. But it is kind of hard to accept, right? We want to believe that if we mattered, we should continue to matter in the next season in the same way, right? Is it possible that they're still grateful for you? They're still grateful for that season. They're still grateful for what you have done and who you are and the role that you played in their life. I think that's definitely possible. Gratitude can live in whatever the distance is, right? Like there's not a required proximity or access. Like you might not get the key to their house, but you're still allowed to come over. You're still allowed to knock. Not all love requires access. Honor, I think about honor. Honor doesn't necessarily mean front row either. I want to share something with you on the professional side of this, because this is where it got tender for me. So for years, I was an educator in the beauty industry. I taught the science behind the art of what we do. It was the biology of hair, the chemistry of hair color, and the physics of how it all lays to face shape. And gosh, I spent so many years connecting these dots. I really had to work hard. I had to make a lot of connections, build a lot of relationships with chemists, manufacturers, company owners. I spent a lot of money on education, certifications, connecting the dots between all of them through mentors, through experience, through research. And honestly, a lot of it came from frustration and the anxiety. Going into the education was because I wanted to give people the map that I wished I had. I connected dots that nobody has ever connected in the hair industry. And I wanted to spare stylists of that same frustration and anxiety, lack of answers, that confusion that just sits in our industry unanswered. They're expensive mistakes, and for some of us, it costs us our career. It's insecurity, a lack of sleep that we get even. That feeling of standing behind the chair wondering why something worked one time and didn't work the next. And so professionally as an educator, there literally was an invoice to my education, right? People paid for the education. The exchange was clear. But underneath the actual exchange, I had to ask myself, am I carrying a hidden expectation? Not for money, not for the applause. I'm definitely not a person that needs to be seen or my name in flashing lights or anything. And not even a public thank you. Like, I definitely did not have any of those expectations. But maybe, if I'm being really honest right now, maybe I wanted proof that my help mattered in the industry. Oh, this is vulnerable right now. Maybe I wanted the work to be received the way that I wished help had been available to me. Like, I wished the answers that I discovered were answers that were already out there that could have prevented a lot of heartache for me in the industry. But so here's the deal, though, is when people didn't receive it or they didn't use my education or take me up on it and they still just struggled instead and they were choosing the hard way anyway, even though I had everything simplified, I think that's where that ache in me was. And I think sometimes the ache came out as that frustration. I mean, maybe the frustration wasn't always about them. Maybe it touched the part of me that remembered, gosh, what it cost me to have to learn things the hard way without the support that I wished I had. And when we struggle alone, it can be painful to watch someone else ignore the help we would have begged for, right? Like, our whole body can scream, please, let me help you. Let me save you from this. Let me make this easier. But I had to understand sometimes people need their own relationship with struggle. Sometimes they're not ready. Sometimes our help is not the help they need. Could be that simple. But I needed to realize that I can't rob them of their journey. Sometimes they have to learn it in their body and not borrow it from our mouth, right? And sometimes resentment reveals the expectation that I didn't know was there. Like, I was confusing my offer with their obligation. Ooh, that fell out of my mouth before even realizing, I guess, what I was saying. There's a lot of depth in that. I confused my offer with their obligation. And so once I saw this professionally, I could then see it everywhere. Wow, this really lives. This lives in families, friendships, parenting, partnerships, and all the places where love and help and expectation, like, it all becomes like this tangled mess, right? We give advice and then we expect it to be followed. We support someone and then we feel hurt when they choose differently. We show up and then quietly hope it buys us closeness. It's like we offer a version of ourselves and secretly hope that it becomes the relationship we wanted. That doesn't make any of us a terrible person. That makes us absolutely human. I mean, it's probably why the word impact is such a buzzword in this world, because we want to know that we're making an impact. We're human. We want to know that what we gave meant something. I think the lesson is that what we give can matter, but it's not a license to control what happens next. Our help can be meaningful without becoming ownership. Love can be real without becoming leverage. Ugh. Yuck. I know, like, how that feels onto me. And gratitude can be genuine without becoming a lifelong debt. Nobody wants that. But here's where it turns inward. I promised you that we would get to the part where we are talking about this to ourselves, within ourselves, and putting that pressure on ourselves, right? Because even when no one is saying it anymore, some of us have learned to say that to ourselves. And about two decades ago, my therapist, oh my gosh, I'll never forget this. I was talking about something in my own chatter or my own beliefs of self. And since she knew my backstory, she said, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me tell you what's going on here. That's what they used to tell you. They, as in that person. And she said, I'm going to tell you something right now. When that person stopped telling you that, you started telling you that. You know how many times I think of that now? Because my chatter will come up with things and I'm like, wait. Is that my voice? Or is there an original voice that came from? And now it's just echoing into all of these scenarios now. Like how many times that we're, like I said, of that Facebook example or the social media example. You're going to remove somebody and you're like, oh, but maybe I shouldn't because they were nice to me once. Or they were there at a season after all they've done for us. Like that's that voice coming in. Yeah, I'll never forget my therapist saying that. When they stopped calling you selfish, you started calling you selfish. When they stopped calling you dramatic, you started calling you dramatic. When they stopped calling you ungrateful, you started calling you ungrateful. And now no one even has to say it because you're saying it for them. After all you've been given, let me tell you when we hear it. We hear it when we want more for ourselves. When we want to grow, when we want to change, when we want to evolve or step into a different life and a different season. Maybe a bigger room, a quieter space in life. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's where we're wanting to become a louder voice. Maybe we want more freedom, more alignment in our life. And then that whisper comes in. Shouldn't this be enough? Who are you to want more? Other people have less. You should be thankful. Don't be selfish. Don't be ungrateful. That dagger, there it is. That's that mental chatter we've got going in our own minds. And now our own hand is wrapped around the dagger in our own chest. But let me put some delicacy on this again, because this is not about being grateful or not grateful, because gratitude is weaved through it all. Gratitude matters. Presence matters. We don't want to become the people who are always chasing the next big thing, right? Never honoring what is already here, never content, never grateful for what's already here in the present. We don't want to miss the life that's right here in front of us because we're obsessed with the life that we're imagining. But gratitude also doesn't need to be the lid that caps us from growing outside of our own container. Gratitude should root us. It's in our roots, right? It's not capping us off. It's in our roots. Gratitude shouldn't bury us like it's a lifelong sentence till death. It's that debt we owe till death. Gratitude should root us, not bury us. A root nourishes growth. Being grateful for what we have doesn't mean that we're forbidden from growing beyond it. Being thankful for a season doesn't mean that we're required to now stay in that season forever. Being helped by someone doesn't mean that they own every future version of us. And being blessed with opportunities or an invitation to grow doesn't mean we're selfish for continuing to become. Wanting more doesn't mean we're rejecting what we have. Isn't that just simply a response to what life is inviting us or calling us forward into? That desire to grow, that like ache to grow doesn't mean you don't have gratitude. It may be aliveness. We've talked about this before. The soul saying, I am thankful. And at the same time saying, I am not finished. Both can be true. Both can coexist at the same time. But here's the thing. if I want that freedom for myself, I have to offer it to other people too. If you want that freedom to not have to feel like you owe someone a debt forever in every season of yourself, then you have to offer it to them as well when they want to grow on or move on or become something that doesn't feel aligned to you. If we want to be trusted with our own life and our own decisions, then we probably have to trust others to make their own decisions too, right? They don't always have to make the decisions that we're recommending. That doesn't mean we have to stop helping. No, that's who we are. We do. We need each other's help, guidance, mentorship, just being in community with each other. Kindness goes a long ways. This message isn't stop giving. It's give cleanly. Help cleanly. Love cleanly. That golden rule, coming back to it being a one-way street. Just treat others the way you want to be treated. Not treat others the way you want to be treated. Are we hearing that difference? One way. Offering what we can without hiding a contract. But also, too, being open to receiving, that's a tough task, too. Receive what is given without feeling like you've got to agree to belong to it forever. But this is, like when that gratitude rises in us, like just let that be real. Let that be genuine. No attachments. Let it be sacred. Let it soften you, remind you. Let it keep your heart open. Not have gratitude with hesitation because, oh, well, what's this mean I owe you now? Be grateful fully. So let's reach in. Let's pluck some weeds from our life. I think I've brought it up before. There's a book called The Body Keeps Score. Our body is storing some weeds that we don't need to have in there. So let's reach in. Let's ask our body, where am I still paying a debt I never agreed to? Where do we feel obligated because it's a place where someone was there for us? Where am I keeping someone front row because, again, they were there for us once? But let's get on the other side of this too. Where have I helped and maybe I have a little bit of a hidden expectation to get the help in return or to be treated the same in return? Where have I confused someone rejecting my help with someone rejecting me? Because sometimes they don't want our help, but that doesn't mean that they're rejecting us. Easy to get that twisted though, isn't it? Now let's go to our personal relationship. Where am I calling myself selfish for wanting to grow? Where am I saying that you should be more grateful. You should be content, grateful for where you already are, because it would be selfish to want more than what you have right now. Maybe most of all, maybe the question or the approval that we need to give ourselves, the authorization we need to give ourselves. Can I be grateful where I am and still be free? And let our bodies say yes. Let our bodies say, yeah, I can be both. Give ourselves permission to be both and not have to choose. I forget which episode it was, but I was saying maybe the answer isn't always or, maybe it's and. We can be grateful and still be free. But we trap ourselves in this. I need to either be grateful or I need to be free. Grateful where I already am or move on and be free. This is one of those situations, to be both, to be the and. I think we can. We can stay soft-hearted without staying indebted, right? We can honor people without owing them ownership. We can receive help without signing away our becoming. We know what that feels like when someone has put that energy on us. We can remove that dagger from our chest that someone has put there And we don't have to rearrange the words and place it in someone else's hands to do the same thing to us, just in a different way. Shit, maybe that's the practice in itself, right? Remove these daggers. Give ourselves permission to say thank you when thank you is true. To remember what mattered, to honor who showed up, to bless the chapters that carried us. Last episode, episode 14, I talked about the old self, new self. How we were so quick to diss that old self and put that old self down. But we can bless the chapters that carried us here to the new selves. And we can still know that the debt is done. It's done. The time was served because there was no time to be served. We were fully, genuinely thankful and still are. We talked about those old versions of self. We can't say that everything was a mistake. Maybe love was love. Help was help. A season was a season. A gift was a gift. Gratitude was never supposed to be a chain that links on to everything else. The tourniquet that saved your leg from bleeding out doesn't need to be saved forever and used for every wound you've ever had. It served its purpose and saved you at the time, right? We're allowed to keep walking, even after someone helped us, after that tourniquet helped us, after someone loved us, believed in us, opened a door for us, and even after we've opened one for someone else. We're allowed to be thankful and still move. They're allowed. They are allowed to be thankful and still move. Thankful and still grow. We can be thankful and still choose. We can be thankful and still become. Gratitude roots us. It shouldn't bury us. It shouldn't hold us under. You know what I'm picturing right now? I'm picturing us all in this village. You know, I have the link with this episode of the village that you can join where we can carry on the conversations. But I'm picturing us all in this village where we can all pinky swear to each other. It's like we're in this big circle and we just kind of pinky swear to each other because this relationship inward of what we're receiving, the relationship of what we put out there, but also this relationship within us as we're building a better relationship with just simply being human. I'm picturing this pinky swear, like, can we all pinky promise that we want to learn how to give without owning, or just to be able to be looking for where we're possibly putting that pressure or that energy? Because I guarantee probably 99% of the time, we don't know we're putting that energy out there. Let's pinky swear that we want to be awake to where we might be. We want to give without owning, without expecting something in return, without expecting to be treated the same, and without expecting to be kept. But also this on the flip, let's pinky promise that we can receive. Oof, you ready for this? We can receive, be open to receiving without owing. And now I want you to put your own two pinkies together and pinky promise yourself. Give yourself permission that you can grow beyond your container, grow beyond your social circles, grow beyond your family, your job, your career, without guilt. This is why we need each other. This is why we need this village. We did only what we knew. And when we knew better, we did better. We're all just walking each other home. See you inside.